let's just put it plainly. The Democratic Party is a collection of interests who want to remain in power. The Democratic Party is the party of government. Its goal is to allocate money and power from the government to the collection of interests who back the Democratic Party. In other words, it's basically a collection of interests who want to loot the republic. Well, obviously, no one's going to vote for that. So they have to make it about something else. They choose a figurehead. They talk about how this is about saving democracy. They basically invent hoax after hoax, lie after lie to basically maintain their power. And I think what's happened is the mask has come off. The whole shell game has been revealed. It's obvious that Biden was always a puppet for these interests who are hiding behind him. And now it's all being exposed.
This also goes all the way back to 2016, because if you remember and you look at the real run-up into the 2016 primary, you have to remember President Obama sat Joe Biden down and said, you cannot run. And the reason was to direct the Democratic Party and establishment and energy towards Hillary Clinton, who ultimately lost that election. There's a very important question here, which is if Joe Biden had actually run in 2016, you may have actually had him beat Donald Trump in 2016, and he probably would have continued into 2020. This would be a totally different situation for the Democrats. So back to your point, David, all of these backroom shenanigans and negotiating and gerrymandering and politicking and power broking is not how democracy should work. As messy as the Republicans are, I have to give, I tip my hat to them. They run very straightforward, fair, visible, transparent face-offs between people. And you may not like the candidates, but the process is what it's supposed to be. Messy, turbulent, but you see all sides. Whereas this tends to be managed from the inside out. And I think that is, as your point, being exposed. And I think that's what really has to stop within the Democrats. They need to open the floodgates. A Bobby Kennedy should have had the chance to run. Dean Phillips should have actually had the chance to run, but they were not, and they were prevented. And by the way, props to Dean Phillips, who in a very respectful and compassionate way was telling the truth from day one. And he was essentially censored. He was not allowed to basically tell you
ostracized.
He told everybody what he observed in front of his face.
Right. And if people had listened a year ago to Dean Phillips, then the voters in the Democratic primary could have made a different choice. They could have maybe replaced Joe Biden, but the party elders and the powers that be did not let that happen. And now they're in a panic a year later trying to do a hot swap because it's manifest to everyone, to the American public, that Joe Biden is not fit to serve.
Yeah.
But the real time to hold on, let me just speak to the hot swap for a second. The time to do the hot swap was a year ago when Democratic primary voters could have voted for someone new. The problem you have now, J. Cal, I actually think that on balance, the hot swap is not going to happen. Let me just tell you why. I think you make a really good argument for it. Nonetheless, the reason it's not going to happen is that Joe Biden and Jill Biden have come out this morning and said there's no way that he's stepping down. It was just one bad night. He's fit to serve. There is no mechanism to replace a nominee who's already won all the necessary primary votes without their consent. So if the Bidens are saying we're not stepping down, there's no mechanism to force them to step down. And that's the situation we're in right now.
There's a very simple mechanism. He's going to capitulate, and you're going to have Obama's going to give him a call. I guarantee you Obama's going to talk to him in the next 72 hours. Guarantee the hot swap happens. I'm absolutely willing to make a bet with you right now on it. Yeah.
Let me finish my point.
Yeah.
They can pressure him. And that's what you're talking about, is they're going to try and leverage him out. But the truth of the matter is that if they can't find the right leverage points, he does not have to step down.
The right leverage point is very simple. He's not going to get any more donations. Last night, the Democrats who are donating all said no more money for Joe Biden. So he's going to have no oxygen. You need money to run these things. But
all right, look, just one other final problem with the hot swap theory is not only is there no mechanism to force Biden to do it, but I don't think there's a consensus right now on who the replacement would be. The fact of the matter is that Kamala Harris is next in line, and she polls even worse numbers than Biden does. So there's every reason to believe that she would do worse than Biden in the election. And I think it's not going to be easy to basically shiv her and push her aside. And so you can talk about Newsom, you can talk about Michelle Obama, you can talk about Hillary Clinton. The fact of the matter is that I think you're going to have a big Kamala problem. And because of that, there's no mechanism and there's no clear replacement. I think that although a lot of people are going to say what you said, J. Cal, about the hot swap being desirable, I think at the end of the day, on balance, probably not going to happen, although certainly I admit it could.
I'll bet you $10,000 right now to whatever charity you want that Biden will not be the nominee.
You could be right, but
okay, $10,000. Are we on?
They got to work out those two problems. I'm
just offering you a $10,000 bet, and I'm not giving you any odds. Straight money.
I would not bet a lot of money on this because I'm not sure. I'm just raising some problems with the hot swap theory.